At number 20, we have Shingeki no Kyojin, or Attack on Titan. Of course, everybody has heard of this. Very much in the mainstream, even those who have never heard of anime have seen this somewhere at one point. The story is set centuries ago when mankind was annihilated by enormous human-like monsters known as Titans and forced to live in fear behind incredibly huge walls. To survive, the humans lived behind these walls and for many years had not confronted the Titans since the wall's creation. One day, one colossal Titan managed to breach the walls, letting all the Titans from the outside loose in a walled-off city. From this, the story follows a boy named Eren Yeager, who has had his family killed due to this event. From that day on, he has sworn to annihilate all Titans. In my opinion, many people overhyped the series and it wasn't breathtakingly captivating and just fairly entertaining. Even so, the series is a great start for newcomers to get started with anime, as it will open them to the anime subculture and other series as they watch more. Number 19, Psycho-Pass. It is an action psychological sci-fi anime series that is set in a possible near future when it is possible to instantly quantify a person's state of mind and personality. Using this data, crime enforcement uses a standard known as Psycho-Pass to measure an individual's being and thus determine a person's criminal tendency factor, used to judge criminals before they commit the crime. This show is very psychological in that it brings up questions relating to how society should be structured and what is considered ideal for managing crime. The series is very serious and rarely are there any jokes to laugh about. If you are not into slice of life or lighthearted anime, then I would highly recommend this. But honestly, I mostly watched it for Tsunemori. Sorry. Number 18, Golden Time. Unlike most series which are set in high school, this one is completely different. I mean a real original work. It's set in college. This is groundbreaking, won't you agree? The series is centered around Tada Banri, a newly admitted college student at a private law school in Tokyo who got lost trying to find a freshman orientation. He meets another freshman, Yanagisawa Mitsuo, who is also lost, and they quickly become good friends. Before arriving to their destination, they encounter a beautiful girl named Kaga Koko, who bashed Mitsuo with a bouquet of roses and then left. She turns out to be Mitsuo's childhood friend who is apparently in love with him and is looking forward to getting married together. A lot of drama happens and questions of relationships and love start to surface. This is a seinen comedy romance series. You can consider it a slice of life, but it has an interesting twist that keeps the story enticing. The anime certainly looks cute, but I would not categorize it as moe. I would highly recommend this for those who like the romance genre. Number 17, Sakuraso no Pet na Kanojo, or The Pet Girl of Sakuraso, is a slice-of-life comedy romance series centered around a second-year high school boy named Sarata Kanda, who is persuaded to move into Suimen High School's infamous Sakuraso Hall, which is pretty much a small dorm known for housing eccentric misfit residents. Little does he know that these misfits will turn his life upside down. One day, a second-year high school girl named Mashido Shina transfers during the spring semester. She is described as pet-like, infantile, and highly dependent on others for even the simplest of tasks, and as such, Sarata takes on the responsibility of taking care of her. However, she is a world-class artistic savant, aspiring to become a mangaka. Although she is an airhead, her dependence on Sarata has had them getting closer to one another as she latches onto him. This is one of my personal favorites because the art style is just so clean, cozy, comfy, warm, and cute, I guess. I felt every time I watched a new episode my day was brightened up just a little. It just makes you feel happy. Not something a guy typically says, but yeah, I would recommend this for those who like that type of thing. Number 16, another slice of life series, K-On! It is by a group of high school girls who end up making a light music club to fuel their passion for music, which results in the forming of the band known as Hokago Tea Time, comprised of 5 members: Hirasawa Yui on guitar, Akiyama Mio on bass, Tainaka Ritsu on drums, Kotobuki Tsumugi on keyboard, and Nakano Azusa on guitar as well. This series follows these girls as they eat cake and drink tea, and also play music when they aren't doing that. This show has pretty much the same qualities as Sakuraso no Pet na Kanojo as far as the cuteness and the warm feeling part, but without any of the drama. Very upbeat, lighthearted, and just puts a smile on your face when watching it. I would consider it a classic for anime in the slice of life genre, and would suggest watching it as one of the first slice of life anime to start out. Number 15, Nisekoi. I'll be honest with you, this is a harem. I know most people can get turned off by this, but I think this harem series is different from others in that the love interests aren't suddenly introduced from a foreign country as a transfer student or a rival in class. I mean, it just so happens this series has exactly those premises, but I think it's still unique in its own way. The story centers around Raku Ichijo, who is a high school student that also happens to be the sole heir of a Yakuza family called the Shuegumi. 10 years ago, he made a secret promise to a girl he met that they will get married when they reunite. Since then, Raku never let go of a pendant the girl gave him. One day, a beautiful girl named Chitoge Hirosaki transfers into Raku's class. They had a rough start with no apparent chemistry, but by a weird turn of events, they are forced to become fake lovers until they graduate. Raku, however, is in fact really in love with Kosaki Onodera, and things get complicated as more girls get added to the equation. But I like it because the series is very innocent with a lot of pure vanilla drama, nothing ecchi. Many harems usually are categorized as ecchi, which I don't mind, but I would prefer if they weren't. Nisekoi is nice in that everybody is innocent with very pure thoughts, which I personally like. At number 14 is Haikyuu. This should actually be in the top 10 or top 5 for this list, but seeing this show is fairly new, I think this spot is more appropriate for this list. The story centers around Shoyo Hinata, who revives his middle school volleyball club after watching a volleyball ace nicknamed Little Giant in action. The team makes it to a tournament, but immediately gets crushed on their first match by the king of the court, Tobio Kageyama. Hinata vows to surpass him and so joins the volleyball team at Karasuno High School, only to find that his rival Kageyama is now his teammate. Thanks to his short height, Hinata struggles finding a role on the team, even with his superior jumping power. It turns out, however, that Kageyama has problems of his own that only Hinata can help with. They learn to work together to make the team a success. Haikyuu is a riveting story that tells of hardships, teamwork, struggle, and spirit. The story is very well developed, with good character development and a little bit of realism that touches on the difficulties of reality. Characters do not get a sudden power-up or level spike that make them stronger for no reason. Instead, the story focuses on perseverance and hard work that drives the characters to become better at both the sport and in person. Although it is an anime in the sports genre, it sets itself apart from all the rest. Number 13, Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica, or Puella Magi Madoka Magica. I'll keep the synopsis short for this one for those who haven't watched it, but I'll start off with this. It's a cute moe, Mahou Shoujo or magical girl anime in a world where magical girls make a contract to gain magical powers so they can fight off witches from hurting people. Of course, you also have to have a cute magical pet from another world that provides wisdom and support to the magical girls. In this series, it takes the form of a white cat rabbit thing called Cube. Adorable, right? Right. Anyways, all I'm saying is, it's not your typical magical girl anime. I know I said that out of the blue after all that, but you just have to believe me. Just think about it. It's not ecchi, but it's rated R for some reason. On top of that, there are 3 movies. I mean, yes, 2 of them are recaps, but still 3 movies. I mean, what does that mean? Just watch it. Just go watch it. Number 12, Suzumiya Haruhi no Yutsu, or The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya by Kyoto Animation, is a classic. When this came out, this was what all people talked about. Personally, how I came to watch this series was not from the hype or a recommendation, but a reference from another anime called Lucky Star that constantly cameoed The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya because both were made by the same animation studio. These are really good promotions for the animation studio. They should do more of this. Why don't they do more of this? If someone who works for a Japanese animation studio and understands what I'm saying is watching this, which I highly doubt, please do this more. While you are at it, please don't sue my ass for this video. Utaru shinaide kudasai. Anyways, the story is centered around a high schooler named Kyon. The artwork makes him look like he's in his mid-20s or 30s, but that's besides the point. One day he meets Haruhi Suzumiya, who is only interested in the supernatural, particularly aliens, time travelers, and espers. Decides to create a club after being inspired by Kyon when a conversation concerning the lack of interest in clubs at school was brought up. She called it the SOS Brigade, a club that specializes in all that is supernatural. Kyon is also dragged into the club by Haruhi. Along with those two, other students such as Yugi Nagato, Mikuru Asahina, and Itsuki Koizumi also join the club, but not for the same reasons. Little does Haruhi know that the things that are supernatural are closer than she may think. Definitely a must watch as it is a classic and one of the less popular mainstream anime. And I trust that you will all watch all of the Endless Eights. At number 11, we have Sword Art Online. Definitely considered one of the most popular mainstream anime series, it is also genuinely enjoyable. Sometimes I get the notion that some people don't enjoy shows just because they are just too mainstream. I think that is somewhat ignorant. If you really enjoy it, then just watch it. Sword Art Online is set in the year 2022, when fully immersive virtual reality has become a reality. A new MMORPG called Sword Art Online just launched with the aid of Nerve Gear technology, in which players can control their avatars as though they were in reality. The series centers around one particular player named Kirigaya Kazuto, or Kirito, who is one of the 10,000 players to first play the game. Then one day, all the players were teleported to town and the creator of the game appeared in the guise of an enormous shrouded figure. He reveals that he has trapped them into the game by disabling the logout option, and if they die in the game or disconnect from Sword Art Online, they will die in real life due to overcharging the battery in the Nerve Gear, thus killing them. The only way to escape is to finish the game, which means clearing all 100 floors in Aincrad. Kirito is a solo player who will attempt to finish the game and save everyone in it. The rule of the game is, if you die in the game, you die in real life. This is Sword Art Online. It is nicely animated, has very likable characters, adventurous, actiony, and has a badass character of course. What more could you want? On top of being categorized in the adventure action category, this series is also a romance, which I find it equally as appealing as the action and adventure. Don't listen to the hype. If you watch the first 3 episodes and really enjoy it, chances are you'll like the whole series for sure. Number 10, Anohi Mita Hana no Namae o Bokutachi wa Mada Shiranai, or Anohana for short, translated as Anohana, the flower we saw that day. This anime series is part of the I'm going to rip my eyes out from crying anime starter pack. The series centers around Jinta Yadomi and his group of childhood friends who have become separated after a tragic accident drifted them apart. Now in their high school years, a sudden surprise forces each of them to confront their guilt over what happened that day and come to terms with the ghosts of their past. This series is categorized as drama, slice of life, and supernatural. A very heart-wrenching story that may even put you to tears at times, if you're the type of person to let your emotions get the better of you. I would give this a higher ranking in this list, but I realized that this is not for everyone. Number 9, Angel Beats, aired in 2010, and at its time, I would say this was the anime of the year. For its time, the anime was really well drawn with very exquisite animation that can pass off as something made today. This show is way well ahead of its time. My only complaint is that it was just too short, and I wish they would have made it a 2-core 24-episode series. The story is by a boy named Otonashi Yuzudu, who wakes up to only find out that he is dead. A girl from Ralph named Yuri explains they are in the afterlife. Otonashi realizes the only thing he remembers about himself is his name. Yuri tells him that she leads the Shindai Sekai Sensen, or afterlife battlefront, and wages war against a girl named Tachibana Kanade, or Tenshi, translated as Angel. Unable to believe Yuri's claim that Kanade is evil, Otonashi attempts to speak to her, but the encounter doesn't go as he intended. Afterwards, Otonashi decides to join the SSS and battle Kanade, but he finds himself oddly drawn to her. While trying to regain his memories and understand Kanade, he gradually unravels the mysteries of the afterlife. This is yet another heart-wrenching story that really captivates the soul and makes us question the life we take for granted. I would say it has a lot of feels, but I hate it when people say that shit. So I'm just gonna say, just prepare yourself. Number 8, Toradora is another romance slice of life anime, one that I consider a must watch. Toradora is by a high schooler named Ryuji Takasu, who despite his gentle personality has people thinking he is an intimidating delinquent due to how his eyes look. Class rearrangements on his second high school year put him together with his best friend Yusaku Kitamura and his hidden crush Minori Kushieda. Along with these two comes Kushieda's best friend Taiga Isaka. Her delicate and petite appearance contrasts with her brutal personality, earning her the nickname the Palm Top Tiger. Taiga is secretly in love with Kitamura and agrees to help Ryuji with his love interest as long as he helps her get closer to hers. But things don't always go how they wanted. I consider this series a classic. It has an amazing story and very likable characters that make for an amazing watch. Because the story is so good, there is no replay value for this series, so be sure to savor it while it lasts. Number 7 is none other than Kogias Hangyaku no Lelouch, or Lelouch of the Rebellion. The plot centers around Lelouch, an exiled Imperial Prince of Britannia, the main character of the series, who is now posing as a student. He finds himself in the heart of an ongoing conflict for the island nation of what was once Japan, now called Area 11, after the Holy Empire of Britannia took over it. The Japanese, now labeled as 11, are stripped of their identity and rights and live a harsh life, barely scraping by while Britannians live a comfortable life within their settlement. Some of them have formed a resistance to take back Japan's independence, in which Lelouch, through a series of events, somehow became involved. Through a chance meeting with a mysterious girl named C2, Lelouch gains his Gias, the power of kings. This power grants him the power of absolute obedience, allowing him to force a person to do whatever he wishes upon eye contact without question. Now with the power of absolute dominance over any person, Lelouch may finally realize his goal of bringing down Britannia from within. This series is filled with action, mechs, drama, and suspense that leaves you wanting more of each episode. Never was there a dull moment, as our main protagonist and anti-hero, Lelouch, always somehow manages to do the impossible in every scenario. There is no better entertainment than watching him do the unthinkable. An absolute must-watch for just about anybody who is anybody. Anime fans or not, you will love this show. I can almost guarantee it. Almost. Number 6, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. In a faraway future, mankind lives underground in huge caves, unknowing of a world above with a sky and stars. In the small village of Jiha, Simon, a shy boy who works as a digger, discovers a strange glowing object during excavation. The surprising Kamina, a young man with a pair of racket sunglasses and the passion of a fiery sun, befriends Simon and forms a small band of brothers, the Gurren Brigade, to escape the village and break through the ceiling of the cave to reach the surface, which few believe exists. The village elder won't hear of such foolishness and punishes the brigade. However, when disaster strikes on the world above and the entire village is in jeopardy, it's up to Simone, Kamina, and a girl with a big gun named Yoko, and a small yet sturdy robot Login to save the day. The new friends journey to the world above and find that the surface is a harsh battlefield, and it's up to them to fight back against the rampaging beastmen to turn the tide in the humans' favor. Pierce the heavens, Gurren Lagann. Take everything you know about all that is manly and extreme, everything that is exaggerated to the very maximum, and every epic moment you've seen, whether it be an action-packed blockbuster cliche in a movie or an FPS video game, every clusterfuck of bullshit action you've ever seen in your life, and combine it into one show. It still will not be as epic as Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. Number 5, Shigatsu wa Kimi no Uso, is centered around piano prodigy Arima Kosei, who dominated the competition and all child musicians knew his name. But after his mother, who was also his instructor, passed away, he had a mental breakdown while performing at a recital that resulted in him no longer being able to hear the sound of his piano, even though his hearing was perfectly fine. Even 2 years later, Kosei hasn't touched the piano and views the world in monotone without any flair or color. He was content at living out his life with his good friends Tsubaki and Watari until one day a girl changed everything. Miyazono Kaori is a pretty, free-spirited violinist whose playing style reflects her personality. Kaori helps Kosei return to the music world and show that it should be free and mold-breaking, unlike the structured and rigid style Kosei was used to. A very compelling drama and romance anime with plenty of astounding classical music that really sets itself apart from anime relating to music, as it is one of the few that incorporates a serious and heartfelt tone into it. You are going to hate me after watching it, but you won't hate the show, I assure you that. Number 4, One Punch Man. Needless to say, it is without a doubt the #1 anime series of fall 2015. Unless you're Japanese, in which case the best ranking anime for the season would be Gochumon wa Usagi desu ka? It happens. happens. Anyways, in this new action comedy, everything about a young man named Saitama screams average. From his lifeless expression, to his bald head, to his unimpressive physique. However, this average looking fellow doesn't have our average problem. He's actually a superhero that's looking for tough opponents. The problem is, every time he finds a promising candidate, he beats them with one punch. Literally. Can Saitama finally find an evil villain strong enough to challenge him? Follow Saitama as he searches for new villains to challenge. A hilarious action comedy that really keeps you laughing with every episode, as it is just plain out stupid how strong Saitama is. You just got to watch it. There is a lot of hype for this series as of recently, with fairly positive responses. The only reason I can think of for anyone not to like the show is if they take everything too seriously, in which case, yeah, don't watch the show. Number 3, Shokugeki no Soma, Food Wars. Ever since he was a kid, 15-year-old Soma Yukihira has helped his father by working as the sous chef in the restaurant his father runs and owns. Throughout the years, Soma developed a passion for entertaining his customers with his creative, skilled, and daring culinary creations. His dream is to someday own his family's restaurant as its head chef. Yet, when his father suddenly decides to close the restaurant to test his cooking abilities in restaurants around the world, he sends Soma to Totsuki Culinary Academy, an elite cooking school where only 10% of the students graduate. The institution is famous for its Shokugeki, or Food Wars, where students face off in intense, high-stakes cooking showdowns. As Soma and his new schoolmates struggle to survive the extreme lifestyle of Totsuki, more and greater challenges await him, putting his years of learning under his father to the test. This is another series where you watch it because you want to watch a main character be completely amazing at what he does, and best everyone he faces. This is one of the few anime that you'll find that's mainly about cooking and food, which makes Shokugeki no Soma even more interesting in that they make cooking look epic, which I did not think was possible. Yes, it is a little ecchi when the characters react rather sexually aroused when they eat almost anything, but it does not really detract from the show's enjoyment, and is seen more as amusing rather than fan service. I personally don't prefer ecchi, but at the same time I don't mind it, as long as it is not 100% for the sake of fan service. Almost all the main characters are very likable, but like me, you would mostly want to watch this to see what amazing feats Soma will pull off next. And number 2, we have of course Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, the 2014 to 2015 series. Needless to say, it is the same story based off the 2004 Fate Stay Night visual novel or the 2006 anime. It is also very similar to the 2010 Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works movie. This story focuses primarily on the heroine Rin Tosaka. After her father's death, Rin enters the Holy Grail War as the sole heir to the prestigious Tosaka household with her servant Archer, but she soon finds out that Shiro Emiya, a boy from her high school, has gotten himself involved in the battles, and unexpectedly saves him when he is fatally injured. Before long, Rin sets out to strike down the conspiracy surrounding the Holy Grail War along with Shiro and his summoned servant Saber, and so the story begins to explore the truth behind Shiro's power and the nature behind his unyielding will to become a hero. The 2010 movie was animated by Studio Dean, which was the same studio that animated the 2006 anime as well. Fate Zero, the prequel, as well as this series, was animated by Ufotable, which in my opinion, and I'm sure you guys would agree, is the superior version to the Fate Stay Night adaptations, as it has remarkable animation quality. The visuals are just absolutely beautiful, with an astounding soundtrack that works absolutely perfect together. Animation was without a doubt first rate, and I can't praise it enough. I've watched all the Fate Stay Night anime series, and I don't think it's necessary to watch the Studio Dean adaptations in my opinion, as the story is pretty much the same in the Ufotable ones. In any case, I highly recommend the series at the number 2 spot. Finally, I give you my number 1 recommended anime possibly of all times, for now at least, Clannad and Clannad After Story. This anime is categorized as comedy, drama, slice of life, supernatural, and romance. Okazaki Tomoya is a delinquent who finds life dull and believes he'll never amount to anything. Along with his friend Tsunahara, he skips school and plans to waste his high school days away. One day while walking to school, Tomoya passes a young girl muttering quietly to herself. Without warning, she exclaims, "Anpan," a popular Japanese food, pretty much just red bean paste and bread, which catches Tomoya's attention. He soon discovers that the girl's name is Furukawa Nagisa, and that she exclaims things she likes in order to motivate herself. Nagisa claims they are now friends, but Tomoya walks away, passing the encounter off as nothing. However, Tomoya finds he is noticing Nagisa more and more around school. Eventually, he concedes and befriends her. Tomoya learns Nagisa has been held back a year due to a severe illness, and that her dream is to revive the school's drama club. Claiming he has nothing better to do, he decides to help her achieve this goal along with the help of 4 other girls. As Tomoya spends more time with the girls, he learns more about them and their problems. As he attempts to help each girl overcome her respective obstacle, he begins to realize that life isn't as dull as he once thought. Clannad After Story is the sequel to Clannad, and the more significant part of the two. But to me, both seasons serve as a whole, so I consider both seasons on the number 1 spot. Clannad is an impactful drama, highlighting the importance of family and the struggles of adulthood. To me, it is an important show that gives a very important moral to the story. A moral that I think is valuable enough to stick to a person for more than a lifetime. It teaches the values of family, friends, and loved ones, to cherish what we as people take for granted, and so much more. Think about when I was watching this series, I could have sworn I cried, guys. I'm not exaggerating this in any way, but yeah, it's pretty embarrassing for a guy to cry to a show, but I don't regret admitting it, otherwise I'd be lying to myself. So I encourage pretty much anyone, even if you don't like anime, to watch the whole thing. I know it's just a show, but to a lot of people it can mean so much more, but don't be afraid to break down to tears, because that's just part of being human.